Hello and welcome. My name is Mike Hammond.
I'm Sarah Walsh.
And this is Retails, a podcast all about retail restaurants and working horrible customer service jobs.
We would like to thank Right Good Studios for making us sound right good, and Arts NL providing funding.
How? This episode contains language and or content that is intended for very tired adults. Viewer discretion is advised. And now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi folks, welcome back to another episode of Retails, the podcast where we talk about customer service employees. Today our guest is Tyler O'Day. Tyler, welcome.
Woo.
Yeah.
And the crowd goes mild.
Yeah.
Tyler is a stand-up comedian and an internet content creator, and he's here with us today to talk about his life working in grocery stores. Tyler, welcome. What's it like working at a grocery store, like, right before or during a snowstorm?
Those are three very specific phases. There's right before, during, and then after, and they all have their own issues. Right before is like the one... Any holiday, any employer can predict that it will be busy before the holiday. A storm can happen before they have the chance to plan it. So you will be understaffed almost always, and everyone tries to get in to buy chips. And
what is it about chips? Like, Newfoundlanders, so if you're watching this or listening to this, not from Newfoundland, we have a thing called storm chips, where right before a storm, or during a storm, people will go out in droves and buy every potato chip in the grocery store. And I looked at it one day and I was like, oh my God, eat a vegetable, you demons. Like, it is crazy the extent people will actually go out in the middle of a blizzard to go buy chips.
In fairness, they are potatoes. So perhaps this is just like deeply...
Okay, 8-year-old Sarah's coming out here. Like, did you know potatoes are vegetables so we can eat them for
ketchup
dinner?
is also a vegetable, if you think about it. But yeah, no, maybe it's just like our mutated by years and years of living like garbage roots of potato loving. It's a versatile thing.
People aren't buying water. They're not buying toilet paper. They're not buying, like, apples or canned goods to last them the cold. No, chips, Lay's. Can't eat just one bag.
Family-sized bag for 2 people living in a shoebox.
So yeah, in the beforehand, people are coming out and buying chips.
yeah, and retail jobs, like after the end of the shift, it will have you getting angry over the stupidest things. Like after like the end of a shift, right before a store, I'm like, how dare people eat chips? That's the most ridiculous, hateful thing a man could ever do is eat chips. And I go home, I'm like, man, I want some chips. And I realize, I'm like, they're totally reasonable. You want to stock up some snacks from the store.
You become the hero long enough just to see yourself become the villain.
Oh, absolutely. Retail has you mad about, like, completely reasonable things, but then it slowly starts to shift into just being like, why are they in the way? I haven't told them they're in the way, but they still stand there. They should know subconsciously that I'm behind them. And just random things that make no sense. But
and I imagine that's like heightened during like storm times. Like people are panicked or people are just like caught up in their own little world. They didn't expect to go buy chips today. So like before the storm, like what happens at a grocery store?
Just a lot of panic and just it's almost like it's so busy that, like, the next day, everyone's like, oh, my God, the blizzard came. I'm like, oh, this is a great day to relax. This is much better than yesterday. During the storm is interesting. It could go two ways. So if you're inside as a cashier, you just work a shift and then hope that you get sent home early. It's basically just a normal shift with a spark of hope. That never happens at my grocery store.
It doesn't happen anywhere.
No.
It is like the cost-benefit analysis for the manager to be like, we can stay open an extra hour and 4 minutes, but these folks may die going home.
We're willing to take that risk, and we'll get a pizza party after it's all done.
You got a pizza party for your life-risking endeavors?
No, we were promised a pizza party that never came.
Yeah, that tracks.
So if you're a cashier, you hope the store closes early. Very rarely will it ever, like, the buses have shut down and I've still had to go in. The worst part is if you are the cart guy, who at my store, which I will say, does like a million other things as well. Like that's the person who takes out the trash at the end of the night, puts like meat back on the shelves if someone changes their mind. There's like a million different things, but that's just kind of like the foot soldier of
it's like
retail.
the general worker bitch.
Yeah, essentially. But there was one time at a Blizzard that like they were like ready to close, but they wouldn't because the carts weren't inside, and that was like a risk because they could blow around during the storm. So I was the only worker keeping everyone from going home.
Oh my god. But imagine if you just quit and everyone got to go home early.
Yeah, it was just like there was so much stuff to do because like you can't really push the carts through the snow.
That's what I was about to ask. Like the schematics of that, like it's not.
Like I've
I
been
had
one
to
of those
cradle 'em.
fools trying to shop right before a blizzard and like the snow has already accumulated kind of deal. And pushing a cart through the parking lot is insane, let alone 50.
What I did was they had to get someone else to help me, and we just like carried them. We didn't even try to roll them like a baby.
That's
like,
what I was thinking. I'm just picturing somebody one at a time, like gently carrying a shopping cart.
So we had to do that,
And
and
there's 50 of those.
yeah. By the time we got them all in, the store was closing anyway. So I'm like, time to go home early. We close at 10. We go at 9:55 today to be safe.
They always, it's like, oh, you can go home early now. It's like, but they give you like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
it drives me.
Yeah,
It
no, and then
drives
they
me.
expect you to be grateful because they're like, oh, well, like we could have closed later, and it's like, really, you're giving me that whole 50 minutes? Never mind that half the staff probably rely on the bus that has gone off the roads 4 hours previous, by the way. But like, I remember when you were talking about rage, which you just get flooded with when you are working in like a stressful situation. But I used to work somewhere, and it was kind of out of the way. It was an inconvenient drive. So incidentally, when it was like really, really bad weather, we wouldn't have a lot of customers, but our district manager would insist on staying open. And then when somebody came in, they would always say the same thing. They're like, geez, you're still open during this. And I'm like, it's because of idiots like you. If you never showed up and literally we didn't see a soul all day, upper management would see no point in paying for this.
What the person I used to work with, their roommate worked at a chocolate store. And in Newfoundland, we had a weather event called Snowmageddon. Whenever you add Mageddon after a weather event, you know it's messed up. It was 2 straight days of 2 separate blizzards with lightning storms. And we had a state of emergency. So the entire city of St. John's was closed down. This girl tells us her boss wants her to go in. Only essential services are allowed open. This is a chocolate store with an ice cream cone that you can get in winter. And he's like, he's, in Florida. He doesn't know what's going on. He hears Snowmageddon. It's like, oh, everyone wants chocolate during Snowmageddon. Idiot didn't even know about storm chips.
We
Yeah.
literally had people like sledding down our street because I remember I heard a bump and it was like a guy on a snowboard going over the top of the car in the driveway because that's how high the snow was. And I remember thinking, my God, I could really kill for an ice cream cone.
Yeah, but like he was so adamant. He was furious when she was like, there's a state of emergency. We're not allowed on the roads. And he was like, but you have to open the store. It's a Wednesday.
That's great. You don't understand. It's Wednesday.
It's
great.
prime time Choco time, baby.
I find the worst part about the working retail in a blizzard, or at least a lot of my craziest stories come from when I'm the cart guy, because as I mentioned, it's like several other responsibilities and stuff.
But also, you're just like in the parking lot of a place where literally every human has to go. And even if you're of average intelligence, that means half the world is dumber than you.
Yeah.
So I can just imagine like just watching people in the parking lot, because you don't feel like you're being watched when you're walking to the store. But I've seen a few of them, and I can only imagine what you've seen.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. There's a lot of crazy experiences with that. Usually after a blizzard is the worst time to work, surprisingly, because then,
You have to restock everything. All the chips.
yeah. But the cart guy, all right, my store used to not have a little roof on the corrals.
Oh no.
And that is enough to give you horror about what you'd have to do the day after a blizzard. You have to, like, go out. They have, like, an ice pick, and you have to, like, mine out the cart corrals. And, like, there's basically every one of them. And I was so exhausted of that. And then they came out with this, like, stick to try to knock icicles off the, I'm not going to say the name of the store, but the letters. And there's, like, not that many letters, but
It's enough.
there was so
Are
many
you just
icicles.
giving our listeners clues to where you were? We have to knock some ice off the letters, but not too many letters.
It's like a Wordle. I remember they tried to get it with this, like, broom, but, like, it's far off. There's no way you'd need, like, 3 brooms.
Yeah, you need like a 70-foot broom.
And I came up with a genius idea. I'm like, I'm going to prove that I'm the smartest one in the store, and they're going to give me a raise, and I'm going to become the CEO. I don't know why. Not minimum wage. I should not be doing all that. So I started making little snowballs. And when no customers are walking in, I'd knock down an icicle with a snowball. And then, like, if I missed, I'd go, like, grab the snow. And there was this one, like, huge one I kept trying to knock down, but I kept missing. And I was, like, getting all, like, the big ones. I'm like, now no one's going to get hurt. And I go to, like, get, like, another snowball just to make another one. And as I do that, about, like, 2 inches from my head, the giant one just crashes down.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like,
Ooh.
I am never going above and beyond again at a retail job.
No.
I should not be doing this. And that was, like, now I work minimum wage as I should, not caring that much.
Yeah. Giving a shit is a $20 an hour job.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah, minimum wage is minimum effort. And I think that was something that when I was younger, I used to be like, no, I can do a little extra. And now I'm like, no, that's how they get you.
Don't do extra. Yeah,
Don't do
that's,
extra.
That's the lesson I learned there.
So you ever had to deal with like emergency crews at the store?
Yes. Well, actually, the most interesting moments was the lack thereof.
Oh god.
So one day I just go in. My mom's out of town, so I'm just driving her car in and out of work. And I go in. I'm just actually one of the few times something interesting happened while I was a cashier, and I hear them like page. They page a million different things, and they're like, "Can the owner of a red Civic with this come to the manager's office or whatever?" And I'm like, "Ha, some dumbass parked wrong."
Classic
then-
red
and then,
Civic,
like,
am I right?
Yeah, and I'm like scanning stuff through. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like my mom's car. I don't know my license plate. Is that my license plate? And then I go over and ask my manager, like, was that one like parked way over? And I'm like, they were like, yeah. And I'm like, can I not park there? I think that's my mom's car. He goes, no, you have a cat in your engine.
Wait, what?
What?
And I was like, pardon? And he said, a customer saw an injured cat running along, and they said it ran up into your engine because it got scared. And I'm like, there's no way it's still there. And they're like, no, we've had
Yeah,
eyes
there's
on
only
it.
way to find out.
That's what I was terrified of.
Or just honk the horn.
Yeah, so they called
Poor
me
little
off
guy.
the cash. Thank God. It's so nice to get a break. I'm like, this cat is bailing me out.
Start
Yeah, it's a
bringing
little
cat
work
to
field
work.
trip.
yeah, and they make me pop the hood, and then they're like, we don't see anything, but then they like grab their phone and like go around with the camera just to be safe, and they find him. I might have some extra footage of this if you guys want to edit that in. Maybe.
Yeah, if you want to send us footage
Absolutely.
of a
Just
cat,
a cat
in your
a
engine.
car.
Yeah, but they kept trying to get it out. They
He thinks he's a little mechanic.
Oh, little guy. He's like, my name is Mittens, and I make biscuits sometimes.
And sometimes I change the oil. Sorry, we're going to let you talk now.
No worries. So they put like a can of cat food down to try to lure it out. That doesn't work. So now I just have a can of cat food under my wheel. And then they get like more and more people to come out and try to help. They try to squirt him with water,
Oh.
which just made everyone
now
more
he's
guilty.
just injured, afraid, and wet.
I know, that just made everything more sad without fixing anything.
Yeah, you just made the cat look sadder.
Yeah. And eventually they just say, hey, could you go back in and just give us your car keys?
No.
This is
And-
the emergency crew?
This was my workers. This is like my manager. So I'm like, I could say no and make this a lot more interesting, but you treat me fairly well, so fine.
As long as they're treating you well.
And like,
Give them your car.
yeah, true. I've been brainwashed. And so I do that. I go back in, and just slowly I hear customers just making small talk. Like, yeah, everyone's over by this car. I don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, you have a large order, I will tell you the drama. If you have a small one, I'll say, I don't know. And eventually, I see a fire truck pull up to the parking lot, and I'm just there scanning things from the window, watching a fire truck, and I have no clue what they're doing. And I'm like, am I going to be able to drive home at the end of my shift, or am I have to work feline-induced overtime?
What I don't understand is why did the manager make you go back to work instead of sort out your own car?
Yeah.
Like, the manager could have just been like, cool, I'll take the cash for like 15, 20 minutes. You figure out this cat engine situation before it gets out of control.
It's already drawn a crowd by the sounds of it.
Like, why did the manager need your keys? Like, when you could have just been like, yeah, man, can you just like quickly hop on the cash?
Well, I'm a very good cashier, and I think...
Yes, so what? You also have a cat in your fucking engine. One of those things, like, okay, if we were like in triage in an emergency room, there's like, oh no, there's one cash lane not closed. We have a manager that could probably take care of that. Or we have a cat in an engine.
And then there's Tyler and the cat. Both of them are like, we don't want to be a bother.
Yeah.
The cat just soaking.
The cat just raises his little paw, like.
The cat gets served divorce papers while it's in the engine.
Oh, that's the only way it could be worse. And then the other cat that gives him the papers is like, she's keeping the kids. And he's like, meow, meow.
But the conclusion of the story is what makes it the funniest from my perspective, is that I just worked, I saw the fire truck come up and then leave, and then the managers come up, it's out. And that was all I got. I don't know how they got it out. And I was kind of scared to start the car. I'm like, are they sure?
Are they just telling me that?
It was out.
Did it have a family? Did anyone see a family go in the engine?
Did it lay eggs? But yeah, they just told me it was out, and I just went home when I was off. It's
That's
a whole
wild.
it was like a whole episode of some weird sitcom happened.
Yeah, just everything, started, end the way it started. Just feel like, I guess I don't have a cat in my engine.
Yeah.
Just the
That's
way
how
I
I
came in.
That's how I started the day. That's how I end the day.
The
cat
In between, who knows?
The cat goes to a bar nearby after, and he just...
Yeah.
What's the training like for emergency situations? Like, a grocery store, old people fall. Like, what is the grocery store training on, like, when there's an emergency in the building?
There's not that much. The managers are trained in first aid, so they basically just say to page a manager if there's something. But like, I feel like
if
that
there's a
wouldn't
cat in
apply.
an engine, this is why the manager,
Yeah.
the
Okay,
manager
you
had
have to-
first aid. So if the cat needed it,
He has to delegate. Yes, yes,
okay.
yes.
So if you had your first aid card, could you like save the cat? Or is that only a
No,
managerial
you just push the
position?
manager out of the way, and you're like, I know how to safely sterilize an area with these wipes.
Yeah, there's not much. There was only one time I didn't even see directly, but there was a medical emergency involving the workers, sort of, or like that I could visibly observe happening. And it was a bit spooky, so I'm glad this is October. It probably won't be uploaded October, but
No.
filmed in October. Retroactive spookiness.
Ooh.
The best kind.
Yeah, it's a layover haunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a ghost that's been stuck in the airport for like 6 weeks, never rotted.
I like that concept. That could be a great short film or something. Anyways, so it was one day I was just the cart guy again, but I was inside putting things back on shelves. Like, someone didn't want their Oreos. Why wouldn't they want their Oreos? Anyways, I was putting stuff back, and then a customer came over to me. He's like, "Hi, excuse me," and I'm expecting just the normal customer service. "Can you reach this on the shelf?" And I'm like, "Hi, can I help you?" And she goes, "There's blood everywhere." and I was like, what? This feels like a Reddit, YouTube horror story or something.
Did they say it like salad fingers?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that.
like, the voice that you just used was horrifying.
Well, it was like an old
There's
woman
blood
stuff.
everywhere.
And I was like, what? And I looked at her and I'm like, oh yeah, there is. You're not crazy.
Well, yeah, but
But
it's
she
just
didn't-
not about this.
Yeah,
Without the
true.
context of how it got there, I'd be like, "Did you put it there, ma'am?"
It looked around. There's just drops of blood throughout every aisle, like to a point where I'm like, how did nobody notice this? This must have been going on a while.
Old Bloodhound did.
Yeah. And apparently,
blood everywhere.
this is the spooky part because like only like 2 cashiers saw this person.
And they've been dead for 40
Yeah.
years.
And apparently there was just this guy who had like a full order of groceries and just went up to the cash and just had like a horribly bleeding hand, like horrifically injured.
God.
Like it just been through a shredder or something. And they just refused. The cashier's like, "Are you all right?" And he went, "Huh? I have a discount card." Just completely refused to acknowledge it. And they just tried to buy some groceries and their card declined and they just left. And we never
card
figured out what
declined.
happened. Yeah.
So, just a theory that I'm working on.
Guy's having a day.
Yeah.
That guy's having a day, but when he died from his injuries, he became that cash and just continued with, "I don't want to be bothered anyone."
But
How
But also, how much bleeding is too much bleeding to be in pedestrian
any
traffic?
bleeding?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, but like somebody with a paper cut, you're not going to be like, "Stop, you cannot enter this grocery store like that." But like when it's profuse bleeding, like,
You assume he walked in with it.
oh no, I did. So like, are you telling me that he had like a knife fight by the produce and was just like, "I lost, I have to do the respectable thing and finish my shopping"?
Depending on which area of town, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's true. I've lived some sketchy places where I'm like, bottle fight, got it.
The amount of bleeding customers, like, I've had my share of bleeding customers. Do they not know?
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, I think that maybe they just choose to power through it. Like, because the only interactions I've had with very ill or hurt customers have been ones that were like, no, I came here for a task. I'm getting the task done.
Sure, get a Band-Aid.
One time I worked at a convenience store and we used to sell lotto tickets and smokes and stuff. And we had a woman that just started like leaning on the counter and like, you know, her claws were all curled up and she was very like, and I was like, "Are you okay?" She was like, "Yeah, no, I think I'm having another heart attack." And I was like, "Okay, we're going to call an ambulance." She was like, "Okay, hang on. Before they get here, I want 2 of the pull tabs." And I was like, "Should you sit down?" She's like, "No, I don't need to. I'm good where I'm at."
Pack of Canadian classics.
She bought a pack of smokes and she was just like, "Somebody help me out to have one of these before I get in the truck because chances are they're not going to let me have any in the hospital." And I was like,
Chances are.
yeah, maybe. You're having a heart attack. They might gently suggest that you hold the smokes for a minute.
You're already having a heart attack. God forbid you win the scratch off. That would be the worst.
I feel like that would at least be like, $10. Net positive.
I hit the jackpot twice.
It's already in my will that my kids get none of this.
With my last words, I curse Diane.
But yeah, like we've also had people like that fall or they've gotten injured and then you're like, you very clearly need medical attention. And they're like, no. I came here for a pound of bologna, 2 lotto tickets, and that's what I'm going to get. And then I'm going out to the truck. And it's like,
Is there a defibrillator in there?
there has been, and I've offered to get them, and they're like, "No, we don't. None of that." I'm like, "Do you want a first aid kit? You're bleeding." And they're like, "No, none of that either."
That is great. You know what's crazy though? They made me put back the groceries that the bleeding guy had.
Oh, no.
That is the worst decision
No,
I've ever
that
seen
is
the
a
store make.
crime.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
That
there's
is
actually,
criminal.
There's
Yeah.
actually biohazardous protocols that need to be.
No.
If blood touches anything, that has to go in the garbage immediately.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
worry. They looked at it and didn't see any, so it must be perfectly clean. Everybody knows that looking for blood is the best way to be sure that there's nothing contaminated.
Hey, remember during COVID when we all washed our groceries? Start doing that again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you don't know who's been bleeding on your oranges.
Okay, now that being said, I still do wash everything, but that's just because of the lunatics that I see like fondling the produce whenever I'm in the grocery store and you have somebody that's like doing like a squeeze test on the tomatoes and you're like, I don't know if you're checking them for perfect ripeness or you're a perv and this is what you're into.
This is how blood oranges are made.
That's good.
Just somebody profusely bleeding, but being like, I'm looking for the perfectly ripe fruit.
If that's how they make blood oranges, I'm terrified of how they make kumquats.
Ew!
And with that, we'll take a little break to hear a retail or two. We'll see you when we come back. It was close to 20 below in my 2004 Chevy Venture, or Van Solo as I lovingly called it, had trouble starting. It was a cold that burned with the wind and froze my slightly undried hair into a crown of ginger icicles. I arrived at the shabby mall in which I worked and descended the staircase to a vast, empty food court, save for the elderly regulars sipping a double-double and rumbling about how it was too cold to snow, and the very disgruntled man banging on the fish and chip shop at 9 a.m. because he needed a 3-piece and a liter of Pepsi now! The mall itself was a relic from the 70s, which in 2012 undermined the flashy promises that the future is here. Just another frigid January day, I thought to myself while cramming my bulky coat into a sliver of closet in my little cell phone kiosk. The morning crept like a sick rat looking for somewhere to die. Par for the course when you don't want to be somewhere. I told my manager that I was taking a 15 to get some breakfast. Then it happened. 9:57 a.m. The blackout. The lights went out and the comforting hum of the HVAC went silent. An eerie, still quiet fell over the mall as we stood in pure darkness. At first, the managers instituted standard protocol, lockdown. Sales reps and store clerks hurried the public outside of the store's gates and began locking away the money and valuables. Security then kindly shooed away the shoppers, citing safety. Too dangerous for the public, not dangerous enough for the staff. 11 a.m. Still no update on when the power will be back. Turns out the mall's outdated electrical system couldn't take the cold and something blew. It could have been another hour, another day, another week. I felt the in my pocket. My coworker texted, "Is there power? They just told me I had to come in." My reply was short. Still dark. Some of the shop workers emerged from their steel-gated bunkers for updates and smoke breaks. They congregated in the food court where the kiosk workers were taking refuge, each one echoing the same message from their respective managements. You cannot go home. 1:05 p.m. Over 3 hours since the blackout. It was well past lunchtime and food was scarce. Most relied on microwaves or a quick stop to the food court for their lunch breaks. With no power and all the requests to leave denied, most were left with grumbling stomachs. And it was getting colder. No electricity meant no heat. For those that had them, winter coats retrieved, mittens donned, and people huddled as closely as they could around the fixed four-seaters just outside the dim display of donuts, muffins, and bagels under lock and key. At that point, I thought it was the hunger or the cold that would kill us. I was wrong. It was the managers. 2:27 p.m. Our breath steamed through chattering teeth, and the collective hunger gnawed through our stomachs, letting the inner frustrations of some leak out into the cold air. Why did I have to come in? Why are we still here? My coworker's words echoed through the hollow food court, followed by murmurs of agreement. The kiosk manager's footsteps stopped directly behind her. When the power comes back, we need you here to reopen. I'm confident we can make up the morning with a strong push tonight. It was the corporate pleasantness that caused a twitch in her eye. I know you're cold and hungry, but I was told it shouldn't be too much longer. She bit her tongue to avoid getting fired, but the damage was spreading through the food court as dissenting voices argued with managers. Why can't I just wait at home? I live around the corner. Can I grab a jacket from the store? I should eat something. I'm a diabetic. In a unified voice, the managers all replied, it shouldn't be too much longer. 3:01. The managers had been talking amongst themselves for a while. The hopeful circulated rumors that we were finally going home. The rest of us just thought they were deciding which of us they'd eat first. Our manager stopped in front of our table with the same corporate pleasantness. Good news, everyone! Pizza is on the way! Our hearts sank. We saw everyone else get the same delightful news, but we knew that corporate would only allow for the cheapest option. One small pizza store on the other side of town just got orders for 100 pizzas at the exact same time. No one was coming. 3:59 p.m. Cell phone batteries drained faster in the cold. I had 61 minutes left. I texted my loved ones with trembling fingers that I might get to go home. Not because we were freezing, but because they didn't want to pay me the overtime to freeze. 8% left. Me too phone. Me too. 4:41. Employees gave up asking for updates on food and power, bludgeoned into submission by soon. It was about survival now. Most of us had lost the feeling in our fingers long ago, and our stomachs turning on themselves looking for calories. As suddenly as it started, the lights came back on. The hums of the fridges and neon signs, underscored by the same top 40 playlist from the past 6 months. A lackluster hooray rang out from the food court as people still huddled together, shuffling back to their stores to reopen. It took no time at all to set up shop, even while taking breaths to breathe some warmth into our hands. When the job was done, my manager approached me. "Thanks for sticking it out today. How about you leave early?" My eyes bulged. I found a new source of life and warmth. Rage. Freezing and hunger whittled what was left of my professional filter, but I quickly remembered how hard it was to start my van that morning. I needed the job, and there was a non-zero chance that I would have to come back in for someone to give me a boost. Through gritted teeth, I replied, "Sure." Then climbed the stairs to my van that started on the first try. With the heater on blast, I set route for home. 4:52 p.m. First red light. Coworker. Pizza's here.
At the tender age of 20 years old, I was hired at a convenience store. On my second shift, the manager took a great pleasure in telling me that this was the second most frequently robbed location in the city. I'd made it a whole 8 days before the first time we were robbed. Leading up to that had been an eventful week. I'd been threatened by a toothless woman in her 70s for selling the bad lotto tickets. We had a man that came in every night at close to ask for 5 pieces of thick-cut bologna, and he'd watch so intently that I'm almost certain that it was a fetish. Another man had a heart attack in the store and still demanded a pack of smokes while we waited for the ambulance that he swore was a, quote, waste of money. A kid tried to buy beer with my ID. They'd been friends with my younger sister and offered to sell it back to me at a discount. By my side this entire process was my mentor and coworker. Let's call her Rodney. Rodney had been tasked to train me in. She weighed 90 pounds, and 70 of those pounds were meth. She would sweat so profusely that it was not uncommon for her to need to switch shirts twice a shift. I know it was unfair to speculate about whether or not people do drugs, except she made no effort to hide it. She would literally explain, "I'm going on a coke break," before heading to the washroom. I only saw her eat once, and it was terrifying as she all but unhinged her jaw and swallowed an entire piece of strawberry cheesecake, wrapper and all, from the store fridge. She'd been working there for 6 years, and she was glorious. We had a system at the store to help with theft prevention. There was a safe which only a manager had access to. When the till had a surplus of bills, you were to document how much before slipping it through the safe slot and therefore establishing it impossible to steal it in the event of a robbery. I was overeager in this system, and one night I'd made a deposit too close to closing time. Rodney was not having any of this. "I'm not going to have enough float in the till tomorrow," she yelled. She went on to berate me, but luckily a man who looked like Doc Brown entered the store and marched towards the register with a purpose. "How can I help you?" I said. I'd hoped that if I was too busy with this guy, Rodney would stop yelling at me. Nevertheless, she persisted. He pulled out a knife that looked like it had been through some stuff. It looked like it would give me tetanus before it would cut me deep enough to do any damage, but still, I was frightened on principle. Rodney stopped screaming and started assessing our situation. "Give me all the money in the register," Doc said, shaking the tetanus stick. I started to open my register, but Rodney had reverted back to her annoyed vibe. "Oh, I'd love to give you the money," she spat, "except this fucking idiot just deposited it all, and now we're all fucked." We all stood still in an awkward standoff. I pushed about $70 worth of fives across the counter. Doc stuffed them into his coat. Rodney kept her hand on her hip defiantly, waiting for the dopamine that would come with arguing. I don't have shit unless you want the coins, she said. Doc was not anticipating this. He kind of panicked now and seemed apologetic towards Rodney. She had that effect on people. Okay, he seemed to be recalibrating. Okay, just give me a few pack of Export A Golds. That day, before midnight, we were held up at knife point for about $93, 4 packs of smokes, and 2 fistfuls of Kit Kat bars. My heart had sounded like a door slamming in my whole body, and I was flooded with pure adrenaline. Doc left the store and ran. I'd pushed the button under the counter, and that ensured that the police would be there within 10 minutes. Rodney still wasn't done. You nearly got us killed, and you still haven't fucking mopped yet. I sank down to the floor under the counter, wishing for a moment that Doc had taken me with him. I lasted 2 more weeks at that store, but to this day, when I see a small, sweaty woman in pedestrian traffic, my heart tenses and I think of her.
And welcome back from that Retails double feature. We're still here with Tyler O'Day talking about working in retail during times of crisis. So Sarah, you were straight up robbed and then chastised for it.
Yes. To this day, I still remain more scared of the coworker than the man who robbed us. And this would go on to happen 2 more times the 2 weeks that I worked there.
That's nuts. That's 2 more times. Like, I guess, yeah, they did tell you it was like one of the most robbed convenience stores.
But I felt like that was just a thing that they said, like, to get.
Oh, yeah, like everywhere has the best slice of pizza.
That's what I mean. It's like, we make the best burgers in town. But
Every
like,
convenience store's like, we're the most robbed.
we're so coveted.
I also worked in a convenience store for 2 weeks that also claimed to be like the most robbed convenience store of the brand in the town. And they were like showing me around. And afterwards I was like, they asked me, hey, do you have any questions? And I asked, yeah, how do you open the register? I'm not taking one for the team.
Well, that was, so I think that the best time that I got robbed that I'll remember until I die, I was really young, but I was working in a bar and I was closing up and a guy came in as I was closing and we just made the deposit. So like there was almost nothing. Like I was trying not to be saucy because I was like, I wish to not die during this interaction, but I was like, buddy, we mostly have coin. Do you want the coin? And I took out the tray because I'd been counting it and I put it on the bar and he didn't just take
$100 in loose change.
But he took the whole tray and was just like, yeah. And then he left with it. And I was like, there's like IDs from people that gave us their ID to start a tab and then forgot it. There's like, billion-year-old like visas that, again, people gave us for tabs and then forgot about and they've long since expired. But I just pictured this guy running down the street. Because even when he was running out of the bar, he was shaking it side to side and like a couple of like coins flew out. And
that's like, loud. Like cash trays are made of plastic and when metal hits plastic, it makes a loud clack.
Well, this is why if you're at a quiet show at a bar, it's infuriating when somebody orders a drink. So you hear the register goes ka-ching and then dun 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 dun.
Yeah, so that dun 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 was like all the way down the road until he got to the getaway car.
I would. You know what? He earned it at that point, as far as I'm concerned. I think if you're going to go to jail for robbing a place, it should be worth your while. And that, you know what? That to me is at least a good story.
Yeah, if it's not going to be worth your while monetarily,
it
might as well be worth your while to your fellow inmates.
Yeah, no, you want to like. Now, I have a very low understanding of jail and know that I would not thrive in that environment. However, I think I would go in. I have skinny arms and I'm sarcastic. I'd die. But like I think that that's the goal of jail, right? Is you go in and you're the funniest guy in jail.
Of course. Yeah, you're the class clown in jail.
Yeah, like my trial, like all the other inmates show up and they're like, give him the business.
Yeah, so Sarah, did you work anywhere during the pandemic?
Oh, I did. I worked at a weed store during the pandemic. So we were deemed essential. Which, I mean,
in all fairness, forgetting that there was a pandemic was definitely essential to surviving the pandemic.
Oh, the best part of my day was going home and just time traveling to sleep by taking like an edible that was twice my body weight. Like, perfect. But I don't know if you guys noticed the same thing, but during the pandemic, we had, our regular customers pre-pandemic, and then we had we got to watch them as society crumbled. And just like every day they'd come in just a little less inhibited because, everybody was either working from home or they suddenly had no job. And the amount of people that I used to see come in on their way home in business suits that came in fully in pajamas that maybe had missed a button and there was like a boob out. Glorious. Like just watching the polite rules of society crumble.
But like that happened, I think, everywhere. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Grocery store, I imagine, like people just fucked off entirely.
Yeah, I started working at my grocery store in 2022, which was just like, it's still around, but you're not a hero for being there anymore.
Oh.
You are just a cashier now.
Yeah, you joined the team right after you were heroes.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember, because I went in and like, they had all like the weird plexiglass walls separating the cashiers, but that was just all I've ever known. Which made like, those coworkers I've worked with for like 3-4 years, and I don't know like anything about them,
including their face, because they're still wearing a mask.
Pretty much, but yeah.
So, but there were lockdowns in 2022 here. So like,
Yeah.
Did you have to work during any of the lockdowns?
Was there lockdowns after 2022?
Yeah,
There was, I think,
there's
one
there's
that I
one in
remember.
March.
Then yes, definitely. Because I didn't remember them happening, but I know I've never been like off work for anything like that. Or like they didn't.
Oh no, it was Christmas time. It was right before Christmas that they shut down. They did like one last lockdown.
Yeah, because right. Because I think we'd had plans to go at something, and then I just remember that everything had once again shut down.
Yeah, shut down again. Yeah. So, like, what's it like enforcing like health rules? Because in like the big stores and especially big grocery stores, they had like the lanes. It was one way only. So you digital serpentine. Like, how frustrating was it for people who couldn't read an arrow?
When I started, there was like the little bit of the stickers left, and they never bothered to replace them. So everyone just did whatever they wanted, and I feel like there was definitely a few customers who were still trying to follow that and were very angry about everyone who still wasn't.
I was going to say, I was unfortunately one of those, but like even before the pandemic, I've always been like a keep left kind of person where I'm like, oh, I'm walking on this side of the aisle, so that means logically everybody coming the opposing way. No, there's no rules.
Yeah.
It's just
It's a
bedlam.
lawless land.
Well, yeah, no, I used to get really angry because we'd put big signs on the door at the weed store being like, we are by law only allowed to have X number of people. And we were at a while where we were only allowed to fulfill online orders. So you'd have to punch in an order, we get it ready, and then you would come pick it up. But we were still only allowed to have X number of people in the store. And there would be people that would just stroll in and then be like, can I get a menu? And I'd be like, no, you actually can't be here. And they're like, well, sure, everything that I want is up there. I'm like, did you read the big pink sign on the door? And they're like, I'm not reading.
Yeah, I didn't come to the weed store to read.
Well, just people that were utterly incredulous and then trying to explain to them that the only way we are allowed to stay open is that if we adhere to the same rules. And they're like, well, that's stupid and I shouldn't have to. I'm like, yes, I agree. It is stupid that you cannot follow the rules that everyone else is following.
Yeah, I was at the escape rooms for the pandemic, and they're like, one of the normal rules is like, don't put things in your pocket, so people don't like walk out with it. I went in and a lady was like, okay, we don't know what to do. I was like, all right, you should have 6 little cards. And she was like, oh yeah, we got them. And I was like, cool, where are they? She reached into her tit.
No.
This is still like mask time. Like at the escape room, we had like I don't know if you saw like the news when they were like spraying down Wuhan with like the special spray. We had one of those little spray guns, so we'd like go in and spray it down and then wipe everything down with on top of that.
But-
and this lady was like, "You didn't say you said I couldn't put it in my pocket," and I was like, what is the name of the event that's happening right now? It is a pandemic. Don't put stuff in your tits, lady.
I had a coworker that used to frequently yell, we're in a panty. And it made my day, but also it was because, yeah, I worked at the weed store and then a restaurant, and the amount of people that I'm like, do you not have like an iota of maybe not even common self at this point, just preservation. Like we're all like wearing masks because there is a disease going around, and I just watched you like lick your thumb to get something off of like a wall that you couldn't read properly. Like,
Yeah, it blows me away the amount of people who were like, because you started working kind of like when the anti-vax stuff was really popping off. So like by the time you started, there was like no more we're in this together, let's stay 6 feet apart. When you started, it was just like, fuck you. I don't want to wear a mask. I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm going to cough in your mouth.
Like, the last one happens way more than you would think.
Yeah.
Like a shocking amount of like, even at an escape room, people are like, oh, how do you do?
I don't know why, but I think that the most obnoxious people cough like children. Like, you know, when you see like a 2-year-old, they do the cough and they're like, ugh! And it's fully like the cat vomiting, but like, it's, like, I think that that's how I've judged people now. When I watch somebody cough and that's how they cough, I'm like, you're a bad person. I can just tell.
You know when the cough sounds like a video game hit sound effect?
Oh,
Like, like that noise. That's the worst. That's when I'm like, oh no.
well, I used to get
I
flooded.
didn't want to hear any of them during the fucking pandemic.
No, well, I mean, like, because I remember when the pandemic first started, I was working in a restaurant and we only had like 2 customers. This is the week that we shut down. So like obviously foot traffic was really low. A lot of people were scared, understandable. And the 2 people that came in, they came in because they had a gift certificate that was 23 years old. And they kept asking me to turn down the music. And just where they were the only people there, I was like, I don't care. Sure. And it got to the point where the music was not audible. And then they could hear everything that happens in a kitchen. Now, I don't know if you know this about kitchen staff. They do not live so very good. So they heard every single smoker's cough. And they were like, do they have COVID? And I was like, no, ma'am. They have nothing but cigarettes. That's
No, they have the black lung.
they have like they're a bunch of guys that work in a smoky little hole, and the only break or peace that they get all day is when they go have a cigarette. So like you can't take that away from them. But like, yeah, no, there was like I think a year where every time I heard a cough when I was anywhere, I'd be like, oh God.
Well, as employees, we kind of turned into like health enforcement.
Which is ludicrous, but it's true.
Yeah, like a bunch of like fucking kids working at McDonald's having to tell full-grown adults that, sorry, you have to put on a mask because there's someone in the back who's autoimmune compromised and they can't afford not to work today.
Yeah.
Like it became like low-level employees. We called them heroes. We said they were essential. We paid them nothing. And eventually people just went back to being just super shitty. People were banging on their pots and pans out the window for pandemic employees. But by the time you started working at a grocery store, like, it's just, fuck you. I don't believe in science. I don't believe anyone. I'm going to run amok.
Well, and yeah, I think it's unfair because you have people that, you know, they're just trying to do their job and they're not making like a ludicrous amount of money, and then, you know, but you guys are expected to be open during Christmas or snowstorms or power outages or, as we learned, pandemics, and you know, and you're the people that have to be between whether or not people get groceries or if they are bleeding too much.
Yeah. I just remember this one point where this was actually long after the pandemic. This was probably like a year ago, but it's still COVID. People act like it's not. But there's a customer that my supervisor had served at a cashier, and they just said, I have COVID, and I'm buying food for myself with no mask, like face-to-face with my supervisor, who, like, reasonably enough got, like, really freaked out and almost had, like, a panic attack.
Oh.
And I had to, like, help them out and just, like, cover their spot. I didn't know that the customer had COVID until later, but I still would have done it. But I feel like that's the worst kind of thing, because like normally when someone's like that, you're like, take a deep breath. But, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then take a deep breath.
No, take a deep breath, get all them germs.
Yeah, people have no respect about this sometimes. They just are like, oh, well, it's going to spread anyway. I give up. And you have to face the consequence. And that's the worst kind of people out there.
But the you have to face the consequence is the part that bothers me more than anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because low-wage workers can't leave.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, these people are all people that need the job. Nobody's sticking around in a job that they don't need.
No one was working at McDonald's during the pandemic if they had any other option.
Yeah.
Like, and you get people who just don't give a shit. They don't, like, they see a little golden arch on the employee's face and they say, up yours, I'm entitled, I get to do what I want. And it's like, and these employees are not coming up with these policies that everyone was freaking out over. They are just these poor,
Yeah.
at the time, $12 an hour workers trying their best not to die and make any sort of money.
Well, I just remember trying to explain to people that were getting really mad at me that this was, like, in fact, not me being a bitch to ruin your day. This is government policy that's trying to ensure public health and safety.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you want me, someone who works for less than $16 an hour, to fight the government? Like, what did you think was going to happen? No, I rather work here than give you unbridled freedom to act like a dick.
Well, and I think that there's something to be said about being treated as, like, almost a ghost when you're in a customer service position, because, like, I mean, this was about, I think, 2-3 years ago, but I had a guy hit on me after a show, and he was, like, offering to buy me drinks, and I was just like, you don't remember me at all, do you? And he was like, what? And I was like, literally, my shift earlier today, you screamed at me for, like, 6 minutes. And he was like, I don't remember that. And I was like, no, of course not, because...
You
like,
screamed at so many people.
Like, I was like, okay, first off, the fact that you're like, oh, that could have been anybody. I'm like, what happens to you during the day? But, like, secondly, I do think that there's something to be said for, like, I just feel like if you're a person that's like that and you're entitled and you go out and you don't see them as people, you see them as, like, no, they're here for you, and this is why it's okay to treat them like utter garbage.
Well, especially during the pandemic, employees became just the avenue to maintain the standard of living. Without McDonald's is not essential. It's just not.
Yeah.
But to keep the standard of living, you had to have a bunch of poor kids work there so that people can have this luxury item.
Definitely.
And they're getting yelled at. Some, like, people were getting beat up. One of the malls that I worked at once upon a time sent out, like, on all their media, they had a whole media campaign. Please stop yelling at and hitting our employees. And then the other mall that I worked at, the bad mall that I worked at, issued mouth guards to everyone and said, for those about to die, we salute you.
Oh, dear Lord.
But, like, companies had so many employees get, like, chewed out, yelled at, beat up, that they had to make public announcements being like, hey, please remember these are people.
Which is, I don't think that we should get there as a species.
The corporations had to remind society that these were people. Corporations had to remind the general public that their employees were people. Do you know how fucked up we got? Do you know how far from God's light we have come?
Did you have any, like, specific training or anything on how to deal with people that were being really, I guess, disrespectful to the point that they might be harmful?
Basically just step aside and call a supervisor. I actually get really lucky. I'm very grateful for this, but I think my store actually has fairly nice regular employees. Occasionally there's, like, a nut job as usual, but
In any sort of work
Oh my God.
environment,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
going to be crazy people.
but I don't really usually have to do that much. The one thing that does annoy me that customers always do is they always try to go out the emergency exit. That's like the biggest pet peeve. One time we had a fire in the kitchen, in, like, the deli area. No one went out. Everyone just went out the normal exit, and after they bought their stuff,
Oh my God.
no one had
gosh.
any urgency.
Yeah, I know there's a fire, but you're fucked if you think I'm coming back for another 20-minute lap around this fucking store.
One of my friends used to be a manager somewhere, and I remember him telling me this when I was young, and it stuck with me forever because it's never not been true. But it's like, people, they don't want to listen, but they don't want to read, and, like, you know this every time that you've been somewhere where there's a sign on the door that says, like, back in an hour, and you see somebody still pulling with all their might, being like, ugh, and it's like,
Has it been an hour yet?
and it's just like, oh, did you not read the fluorescent sign? And they're like, what sign? And it's like, it's literally eye level with you, sir.
But like in these, when signage sometimes can be overzealous, warnings for things that don't need warnings. But like if there's a sign that says warning or, any sort of big bold line, especially if it's handwritten, that means they had to do that quick.
Isn't that the saddest too? And sometimes the signs are so specific and weird that I'm like, what happened here? Like there was a bar that had a sign that they put up that said, no arm wrestling.
That's great.
I remember because it was like a couple of my friends worked there and I asked them about that, but apparently they had like a chess night that somebody had gotten overzealous and somebody broke an arm.
Oh, that's their first mistake. Yeah, you brought the chess folk together.
I know, like they're brutal.
Rowdy bunch, the chess folk.
There's I just remember this. In the break room of my store, there is a sign handwritten on the dishwasher that says, "These dishes are dirty. I do not recommend using them." And that word choice killed me.
Yeah, recommend.
I think that was just somebody wiping their hands to be like, well, if anybody uses these garbage plates now, it's not on me.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, I think I appreciate when I see a really good sign that seems like something that everybody should just inherently know. But I'm like, oh, they put that up because it keeps happening.
Put garbage in the garbage can, people. I can't stress this enough.
We had to put up a sign that said spitting will not be tolerated because of the sheer volume of people that came in, one, wearing their mask like around their chin, which I'm like, just pull it up. Like it's not... but then they would fully like pull it down further to spit at staff. And I was like, this is my life now. This was gross before the pandemic, by the way. And then after I was like, oh, this is like teetering on like, I think assault is what they technically would classify it as.
Gross. And now a biohazard.
Hooray.
But like employees aren't trained in this stuff. They're trained how to use the till. They're trained how to stock cans. They're trained to give hints at an escape room. Like none of these people in their first days are like, what do you do if there's a fire? What do you like? It's so in and out. Like when I managed at a theater, I asked every employee, is like, have you ever used a fire extinguisher before? Literally none of them had. And I was like, well, we're going to do that because how the fuck are you supposed to know how to do this if there's a fire and you're trying to read the little instructions on the tag? No, let's all go shoot the fire extinguisher out in the parking lot.
Well, that's what I mean. Like during an emergency, you don't want somebody fixing their glasses and being like, hang on now. No, hang on. Wait now.
Which one's the pin?
Which one of you got like a flashlight on your phone? Like nobody has time to figure it out in the moment, and that's kind of horrifying that like it would just be like, oh, you guys will learn when it's on fire.
Yeah, I will say I think there's not many emergencies that happen, but if they were to happen, I have no clue what I would do. Like genuinely.
Yeah, and to a certain degree, nor should you. It's above your pay grade. Like you're not a doctor.
Yeah.
You're not a nurse. You're not even a med student yet. I said yet.
Yeah.
The future is bright for Tyler. We don't know what he's gonna do.
But like they have, like every little office has like a binder says emergency plan, and when you wipe the dust off it, you can read it. Like,
and some of it hasn't been updated in years. Like we had one of those at a game store, and it was relevant to the store before they'd moved locations.
Yeah.
So like half the information was no longer relevant.
For the longest time, our emergency exit had a welcome mat on it. And eventually they moved it, and I'm like, okay, they did something.
Was that why so many people went through the emergency door?
No, that was the other one without one.
Oh, okay.
But still.
So the welcome mat didn't get used on the emergency door, but the one with no welcome mat and just emergency use only,
Yep.
people are like, oh, sick, free door.
That's a good door.
Yeah, I really don't know what I'd do in a lot of these situations. Even as like the low, I know I'm not gonna like perform surgery if someone has, but like, I don't know. If someone tried to rob the store, there's like sometimes the little system is just not right, and like I have to enter my passcode, and then like if there's something on the scale, it won't let me enter in the passcode. And I'm like, dude, it could take me like 2 minutes to open the register, and I don't think like armed robberies have that much patience.
That's what I mean. That's what scares me, because I've seen people lose their goddamn minds at people for the self-checkout when they're like, what do you mean there's something pressing on the scales? But like, I'm picturing that, but he's got like a shotgun and he's like, what do you mean it's froze up because you entered the wrong pin?
Yeah, and I'm like, this would just be, imagine just the last thing I see is just like, remove scale weight. Like that could be the way it ends, and I don't know how to feel about that.
I think that when I was working retail, I wanted it so that my grave would say, in the event that I died this way, died the way she lived, dealing with morons at a job she didn't want.
That's great.
I feel like if the escape room ever got robbed, I think we would have just like ran into one of the rooms and then locked the door. And it's like, I'm gonna come kill you. It's like, all right, have to solve it to find us. He's there like going, it's like, what does this red thing mean? It's like, oh, that's one of your hints used.
It's great.
That seems like that could either go really well or like, I mean, if you finished all the puzzles, it'd be like, I actually feel pretty good about myself. I don't know if I need this today.
Well, folks, we're at that time of the episode where we want to remember not everyone is garbage. So today we have another moment of humanity. This happened actually just at the start of the pandemic, when everything first closed. So I was at home at my roommate. The shop had been closed for a few days, and I get a message on my phone. It is a very long and heartfelt message from the owners of the escape rooms. There's 4 of them, and it started off with, this is the hardest thing we've ever had to do. And it was a very, very lovely message about how much they appreciated us and they would have to lay us off. They thought it was the best financially. They couldn't afford to keep us on because we were closed for however many months. And my response to that was, happy birthday to me, I suppose, because the day was my birthday. And then I got 4 very apologetic messages from 4 very sorry owners. And I was like, hey, guys, it doesn't matter. Because the amount of shrooms I was on as well.
I feel like that was context that we should have had before.
No.
They're surprise shrooms.
Yeah, so I'm just reading this going, wow, I don't have a job. But the moment of humanity in it is that each owner took the time. It wasn't just whoopsies. It was like, we never would have done this today if we had known. We could have waited a week. Like, we could have, like, those folks went to bat for us so hard during the pandemic, especially. Like, they spent thousands and thousands on that, like, little disinfectant gun. They had an entire day where they showed us how to use it. They went way above and beyond getting us, like, PPE and, like, literally anything we had asked for or anything they thought we would require. And any time sort of like health stuff came up with customers and they were being assholes about it, literally every single time the store had our back. The owners were there for us, and they just supported us through that entire thing. And like, having that kind of employer during such a scary time, especially the early of the pandemic, was such a scary time that I really, really appreciated it. And honestly, I don't think many people got that treatment from their employers. So, and that concludes our moment of humanity. Folks, that's the end of our episode today. We want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Tyler O'Day.
Woo, woo, woo.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a great pleasure, a lot of fun.
Tyler, where can people find your stuff? What are you working on now?
You can find me on Instagram or TikTok or both. You can see me at some of the open mics, some of the local comedy shows if you live around the area. And
What area is that?
St. John's.
St. John's, Newfoundland. You can catch Tyler at mics.
Yeah. Several different open mics and different small shows. You can see me anytime. Or if you're not in the area, you see me online on Instagram or TikTok. Both times it would be eelfeel or eel.feel, I believe, for Instagram.
Or you can also catch them throwing ice balls at your icicles.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember, we want to hear your tale. Email us at retails.contact@gmail.com with your retail horror stories, and hopefully we get a chance to read them on air. That's it for me. My name is Mike Hammond.
My name is Sarah Walsh.
And we'll have you next time. Fuck, I fucked it up.
That's it. Back to Winnipeg.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, that was a delightful episode, wasn't it?
What a kettle of fish.
Make sure to join us next time for another episode of Retails. I've been Mike Hammond.
I've been Sarah Walsh.
Good night, everybody. Tell us your tale. Send your own retail to retails.contact@gmail.com. Follow @RetailsPod on social media for episode updates and more. And make sure to fill out your customer feedback card in the comment section. Retails is funded in part by Arts & L and is a production by Right Good Studios.